from as early as I can remember, I was fascinated with computers and technology. And I think what drew me to it was that when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, we didn't have access to facilities like ThinkBox that had these fantastic pieces of hardware and machine tooling that enabled people to build physical objects. So the easiest way for a kid in the 80s and 90s to fulfill the need to create things was writing software. I was messing around with Unix servers and trying to understand how they all worked. And I think that those experiences are really what drew me to Case because of the network that the university had invested in at the time. The term hacker has only relatively recently entered popular conversation to describe what I think has always been part of the engineering ethos. And when I was here, we didn't have the same opportunity to access facilities all night long. So we were building all kinds of crazy cool stuff in our dorm rooms. One of the most valuable parts about my education at Case was that the professors really understood that so much of education process goes on, especially in engineering, outside the classroom, late at night with students talking and in the hallways. My favorite parts about classes were the projects that I worked on with other students, where the professor would get us started and push us in a direction and was there to step in and tell us when things weren't going well, or maybe even push us to take it to another step. And that experience has really prepared me for what the real world's like, where every day is a new problem and you've got to solve it. As a professional investor, the philosophy that I've developed over the last few years is, rather than trying to be smarter or faster than the other investors on Wall Street, I've kind of focused on trying to be weirder than the other investors on Wall Street. And by that I mean that I try to focus on where I'm consuming either different information than they are, or I'm consuming the same information but in a very different way than they are. And one of the things that I think is amazing about Case is that we've got all of these wonderfully smart, driven, entrepreneurial students that also I think embody some of that weirdness that I like to see in myself. It's amazing 15 years after I graduated to see all of the fascinating things and wonderful places where my friends from Case have ended up. And it's so wonderful to keep in touch with those people and continue to learn from them. I think we all have a responsibility to future generations. And as a young alumni leader at Case, I want to do what I can to accelerate the dreams and ambitions of the current students at Case as much as possible. And I also benefit from it by interacting with these incredibly creative and hardworking students and benefiting from their learning.